Hello and welcome back to Life of Posy. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a pleated skirt on your dog dress. This is something that's a little bit new to me as well, and I went to YouTube and found a really clever idea where you take a fork to make your pleats. So follow along and see how I do this. All right, to get started, you are going to need some forks. The size of your pleat will depend on the size of your fork. As you can see, this is a very large fork. So this fork here measures, let me see, about 1.5 inches. This would make your pleats 1.5 inches. This one here would make your pleats about 1 inch because this is 1 inch wide. And this tiny little fork here is 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna go with this 1/2 inch fork for Posy's skirt because her dress is a small one as she is a tiny dog. And I think this will be just right. Now I've already started Posy's dress by making the bodice. Valentine's Day is tomorrow actually, and so I'm making her a last minute Valentine's dress. And that's the great thing about these dog dresses. They're so simple that I can whip one up really quickly the day of or the day before. So I've already made the bodice. You can check out my other videos to see how to do this portion if you have never seen a video of mine before. But today's focus is going to be on the pleated skirt. This is the material that I'm going to use for the skirt. I think it coordinates nicely with this heart material. We've got the dark pink in here, and I just think it'll be really cute together. So in order to cut out the length of the material that we need for this skirt, we have to do a little bit of math. Don't worry, it's not hard math. Math is not my favorite, and if it were any more difficult than this, I wouldn't even bother. Now, typically when I make a gathered skirt for Posy, I just double this measurement here from side strap to side strap, and I double that, and that's how much fabric I cut out. However, when we are pleating our skirt, we need to figure out exactly where we want the finishing point to be. I always like my skirt to fit right between these neck straps right here and here. So I'm going to measure from here to here to find out how long this is. So take your tape measure and line it up right about where you want it. My number is 10. So in order to cut out the right amount of fabric, we are going to take that number and multiply it by 3. Mine's very simple because 10 times 3 is 30. So I need 30 inches of fabric. You also need to remember how long you want the skirt to end up on your dog's back. So I usually go between 5 and 6 more inches on Posy. So we're going to cut out a strip of fabric that is 30 inches for me and about 6 inches long this way. This fabric is folded in half already. I'm going to make mine 30, so I will do the calculations at 15 inches because when I open it up, it will be 30. And I also want to measure up this about 6 inches here. So I'm just gonna take some chalk and make a couple lines here and there. Be sure to leave enough room to hem the bottom of your skirt as well as the side edges. So I just remembered that I'm gonna actually make mine 31 inches long. I'm just gonna go ahead and go to about 16 inches. This will be the mark where I cut. Okay, now I have the length that I need. It's exactly as long as I want it to be for Posy, and we have our big long width here. So the next step is to take it to your sewing machine and hem the bottom and the side edges. To do this, you simply turn it over, take your bottom edge, roll it over one time, and then about 1/4 inch, and then one more 1/4 inch like this, and sew along the length of this all the way down and up both sides in order to give yourself a nice hemline. I'm gonna do that and I'll be right back. Okay, my skirt is nicely hemmed all the way across the bottom as well as the sides. So now it's time to put our fun little fork idea into place. So what you will do, and there's a couple different ways we could go about this. You can do the pleating and pin it all into place, or you can do it directly at your sewing machine. I'm going to show you how to do it with pins first. And like I said, I'm going to be using the small one when I get over to the sewing machine to actually do Posy's skirt, but I'm going to show you right here with the little bit larger fork. Okay, to get started, take your fork and have it facing your body this way. Have it curving towards you. In the bottom opening, right here, this bottom prong, we are going to slip that under our fabric. So it is sitting in this bottom prong. And roll the fork towards yourself and line the fabric up as you go. Then you can pull your fork out and place a pin right here. Simply slide your pin in to keep your spot. You just want to make sure that your fabric is lining up straight over here. If I turn it towards you, you can see this little sandwich of fabric. It's folded over on itself and then back. So there's actually 3 layers of fabric here. So we are going to go ahead and move on to the next one. In order to get the right position of the next pleat, you want to imagine this spacing of this fork out. So about 1 inch out, you will stick the bottom prong again underneath the fabric and roll the fabric towards you. Line it all up on the edges. Take a pin again and go through all the layers. So now we have 2 pleats, and we will continue to do this down the length of the skirt. So about 1 inch out, slip your fork under your bottom prong under the fabric, roll it towards yourself, line your fabric up, and place another pin through this pleat. So as you can see, we are getting a really cute pleated look here. Before I go over to the sewing machine to do my actual pleating and show you how to do it without pinning, I want to point out another style of pleats that you can do, and they are called box pleats. I think box pleats are really cute, and what box pleats are is where every other pleat is going in a different direction. So I'm going to take out what we've done here and show you how to do that really quickly. So all you would have to do this time is do 1 pleat the way I showed you with the fork facing you and rolling it towards yourself. And then the next pleat, you would have the fork facing away from you and rolling away from yourself. So let me demonstrate. I've got this in here, bottom prong inside the fabric, roll it towards myself, pin in place, okay, there's 1 pleat. So the second pleat, I'm going to turn my fork this way, away from my body, put the bottom prong under, and roll away from myself. Line my fabric edge up again here, and put a pin in this one. Now let me show you what that looks like. You could also iron this as you go, but I don't find it necessary. So now we have a pleat with the folded edge coming this way to the right, and we have a pleat with the folded edge going to the left. So there's kind of this opening here. And I actually think that boxed pleats are really cute. In fact, I think I prefer them to just regular pleats. But for today's video, I'm gonna stick with regular pleats on Posey's skirt. So you would just continue on doing 1 rolled towards you and 1 rolled away, 1 towards you, 1 away, in order to get the boxed pleated look. Okay, let's head over to our sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how to pleat this skirt with your fork and not even using pins. All right, I'm over at my machine. I have my skirt here, and I'm going to be using the tiny little fork. So, same method as before. I'm going to take my fork, put it towards my body, and roll it towards myself. 1 whole roll till the fork is flat, and I can pull it out and it's in this position. Move that aside, make sure these little edges are lined up, and I'm gonna feed it partially through my machine using about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And I'm only gonna go a short distance, about there. Because this is a 1/2 inch pleat, I need room to get in here to make my next pleat. So I only sewed a little less than halfway into this pleat. With my needle down, I'm going to put my fork under my fabric again, just as before, and roll it towards myself. Line up my fabric on the edge here and pull my fork out. As you can see here, if I push this first pleat down, these pleats are matching up just perfectly. So I'm going to continue to sew all the way across the first pleat and only about 1/4 to half a way into the next pleat. Just enough basically till you catch that next pleat. And then I'm going to repeat the process. Slip the fork with the bottom prong under the fabric and roll it towards myself. Sometimes you have to kind of shimmy the fork over to loosen up the fold, but you will get a feel for it as you go, and actually it's very simple. So as you can see here, I'm working on the third pleat, so I'm going to sew all the way across the second one and just a little bit into the third. I find the less you go into the pleat that you're actually working on, the easier it is to make your next pleat with the fork. So again, rolling towards myself. And when you're on the machine like this, the fabric seems to line up a lot easier than pinning it together at your workstation. Pull my fork out and go through the previous pleat and a little bit into this one. And just continue on in this same exact way. It's actually really fast. You can even use your fork to help feed it in if you're worried about it coming unfolded before the needle catches it. And this last little section here really doesn't have room for another pleat, and this is perfect. So I'm going to continue on with my stitch and just back stitch here at the very end. Okay, I have pleated this whole skirt with this adorable little fork. And you know what? It was so simple, but it is so effective. Let's go back to our workstation and see how it turned out. Okay guys, look how adorable this turned out. I just love it. You can actually bring this to your sewing machine if you'd like and press all of these pleats really nice and flat, give them more of a crease, or you could leave them more loose like this. I think maybe I'll go ahead and iron mine just to give it a really crisp look. Okay guys, I've gone ahead and ironed this whole thing to make really crisp pleats, as you can see. And I think it's darling. I love it so much. I'm a little bit worried that my skirt is actually a little bit wider than it should be for the bodice. So let me grab my bodice and see how it's gonna work out. Okay, as you can see, my skirt is about 1 inch longer on each side than I had anticipated, but that goes to show I'm not great at math. Actually, it's probably because my pleats aren't completely even. So what I'm gonna do in order to fix this is take my chalk and mark out exactly how much I want to remove, and then I'm just gonna add a new little hem on the sides. So I want it to be about here to here, so I need to get rid of this point and right around there. So I'm gonna remember to leave about 1/2 inch in order to fold over my fabric to make a 1/4 inch hem on the sides. And then I'll be right back. Okay, went ahead and cut off that extra fabric and put a new little hemline there, and this is perfect. So now we just need to attach it to our bodice. So just like always, put the back part of the bodice up out of the way. So we're only left with one sheet of fabric here. Flip our skirt upside down on top of it, and we are going to, well, let me find the middle of my skirt right here. And the middle of my bodice is about there. So I'm going to start pinning this on to the bodice. And now I'm going to bring it to my sewing machine and sew all the way along this edge. All right, I'm back from the machine and I've stitched all the way across here. So if I pull my skirt over, give it a little tuggy here and there were completely attached. And so now we'll flip this over and just bring the back part of our bodice up over this rough edge here by folding under a little ways and pinning this into place just over this skirt seam, right about there. Just pin it all along. And when you get to the side straps, fold those in on themselves as well, just like this, and pin or clip those into place. And now we'll go back to the sewing machine and sew along this edge. Now that I have attached the back part of the bodice to the skirt, I'm going to do some finishing touches, which include putting Velcro closures on my straps and putting a little decorative border at the waistline, which I always think makes it look more finished and hides some of these stitches underneath. And I think that this big, bold rickrack in pink will look just right going across the waistline. Start with this all the way over here at the edge, wrapping it around the very side strap and underneath before I start stitching, and going all the way across the waistline and doing the same on this edge as well. All right, I'm almost finished with my dress. I put the rickrack on, I've got my Velcro closures going on here, but I like to add a little bow or something to make it extra fancy. So I'm gonna try making a scrap fabric bow. So I'm gonna set this dress aside, and I'm just gonna take some of these pieces that were cut off of the material when I was cutting out my bodice and my skirt, and I'm gonna cut them into strips about 1 inch to 1.5 inches wide, just various sizes. And I'm not even gonna be really super meticulous about it. I'm just gonna go for it. Just different sizes. So there's some here, as you can see. Whoops. There's a couple different sizes on this, and there's 2 of each. So there's a lot of that one. Let's do some of this one too. Get rid of some of these yucky edges. Some of those might be a little too short, but I have some more scraps right here too. So we'll just go ahead and cut into these. I also have some of this little like red gingham ribbon and some just white satin ribbon and this kind of elasticy pink kind of shimmery one. So I'm gonna see if maybe I'll incorporate these a bit too. But what I'm going to do is simply start taking some of these strips of fabric, and they might be too long right now, but we can cut them down later, and just laying them in a random fashion and order, just kind of crisscrossing them over each other. Let's see, let's get a thicker one of these. And thinner one. Now I think I'll put in some of this white ribbon. So I'm gonna cut some strips of this. Add those in. I'm gonna put another heart one across here. I think I wanna add some of this cute little red gingham. So I'll cut some strips of that. And I'll add one of those in. Maybe another one of these, and that, another one of these. And I know what you're thinking, I'm covering everything up right now, but when we start fanning it out, you'll see that you can see more of the pieces. Maybe one more gingham. Okay, let's go with that. So the next step is to slip something under here to tie it all nicely together. Now I'm thinking I'm just gonna use some thread doubled over so that it's not very noticeable and we can attach it to our skirt later. Actually, I have some of this embroidery thread. I think that'll be perfect. I'm just gonna pull out some here and cut it. Okay, so I'm gonna take my embroidery thread and lay it across this stack of ribbon and fabric and just grab it all and flip it over. Then we'll take these ends and tie it nice and tight. I'm going to flip it over again so I can get a good tight knot on this. And double knot it. Okay, so if you want to have these tails towards the back, you can bring it back again and knot it one more time, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so already I think that this looks really adorable. It's just a really messy, scrappy fabric bow. But you can, if I think that this is just too wide this way, I can cut some of this down right now. So I'm gonna grab Posey's dress here and imagine it here in the center. And you know what? I actually really love the look of an oversized bow on her dresses. So I'm totally fine with how wide this bow is. So I'm gonna leave it as is. But you could come in here and snip some of them away. But the next step is to just frill some of these out, pull on them, tug on them, do what you want. Just make it nice and fluffy and whichever order you want. You only have so much control because it is a messy, scrappy bow. But I think it's really cute. And if you wanted to, you could take, for instance, this little gingham ribbon here and wrap it around the center of this bow like this, and then when we go to stitch it on the dress, we'll just catch this under part and have it go all the way up to the material of the dog dress. But you don't have to, you can just leave it like this. You could stitch a little button in the center, which I love buttons. I think buttons are so cute on there. In fact, I found this whole package of 90 buttons at the Dollar Tree the other day. They're not the best quality buttons, but they're pretty cute. And you know, you don't have to spend a lot of money on buttons. You could put a big old pink one in the center there. That would be cute. Let me see what I have. I think I'm gonna attach that little red button there. So I'm gonna get a needle and thread. Okay, I've got my button sewn on there, so I'm gonna pull my dress over and I'm going to attach it right in the middle here. And there it is. This scrappy bow turned out adorable. I think I'm gonna make lots more of these. And yes, it will start to fray on the edges, but I'm okay with that because it's just a dress that Posey will probably wear on one occasion, maybe once a year on Valentine's Day. And I think the scrappiness of it gives it some character. So let's try this on Miss Posey. Alrighty, Miss Posey, let's try this pretty little Valentine's Day dress on. Close our Velcro, straighten our bow up. I love that bow. I think that bow might be my favorite bow yet. This turned out lovely, and look how adorable this pleated skirt turned out. And it was so easy using a fork. I really hope that you guys will try this, give it a try. You don't have to make a Valentine's Day dress. Obviously, you can do this method with any combination of material. It's just so cute, and I think it was easy and fun, and I can't wait to take pictures of Posey in this dress. If you haven't had a chance, please subscribe to my channel, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I thank you guys for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time. Have a wonderful day.